guys, welcome. My name's Sabrina if you're new here. In today's video, we're going to be doing some Facebook Marketplace vintage chair flips. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned and let's get right into the video. So the first chair I have is this vintage blue velvet swivel chair. It's really good condition, like the fabric's really soft. There's not really any stains. It is a bit dirty. And it has a swivel bottom, so we're going to be most likely folding the skirt under. I still need to look to see if I want to rip it off, but I've been liking the look of the skirt folded under even more because you don't get left with a line in the fabric. So that's the first chair that I have. So this is the second chair that I have. It's just like this really cute MCM chair with tapered legs and this like burnt orange fabric. This is actually teak wood on the handles and on the legs, so I won't have to rip the skirt off of this or anything. I'm just going to wash it because it's a little old and discard this sort of cover on the chair, and we should be good to go. This is the other chair that I have. It's just like this vintage wood framed chair. I think it's really cool. It has like some tuffing here, some buttons, and it's like this like tweed fabric. I think this is walnut, so I'm going to be sanding this and just like refinishing the wood. This does come off the frame, so that shouldn't be too hard. So yeah, that's this chair. Alright, so I have my tools here, which include a hammer, a flathead screwdriver, needle nose pliers, some sharp scissors, and a staple gun. So I'm just going to be stapling the skirt underneath, so I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so my first step is to cut out the stiff piece of paper that's in this skirt. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess fabric. So on this particular chair, there's a little bit of a thicker frame at the back because of how they attach the swivel bottom. So I want to make sure to leave enough fabric accordingly. So I'm going to leave a little bit of extra fabric on the back. That way there's enough for it to fold under in the back. All right, now that it's all cut, I'm going to be stapling it all around underneath so that it stays in place, and it sort of gives the illusion of the same thing as like ripping the skirt off, but instead of ripping it, we're just going to be stapling it. So I'll show you how I do that. So I use the hammer to get the staples to go in really deep because the fabric's pretty thick. I'm just cutting off the excess fabric in the corner here so that when I staple it, it doesn't have another layer to go through. Alright, so this is how I stapled it. So I still need to staple all around there, but I stapled the front, so I just made sure everything was really, really tight, and then I just stapled along and hammered in just like that. So I'm going to repeat that exact process all the way around, and then we can clean it. Alright, so as you can see, I just stapled it all around like this. Like this. It's a little bit hard to staple it here because there's wood planks here, but I did as best as I could. So when we flip it over, we're gonna have to see. Hopefully this doesn't show too much on this side and it looks flat enough, and we're gonna give it a clean. All right, so I'm just gonna clean this one up. There's a bit of cat hair on it, so I'm gonna use a little brush to remove that. Okay, I got most of the cat hair off, so now I'm going to take my Bissell and give it a good cleaning. I just have a cleaning solution that I like to spray on the area so I can really agitate the soap and get it worked in there. Okay, so once I get that rubbed in, I'm just going to rinse this whole entire section and move on to the next one. Alright, here's the blue chair, all nice and clean. Really happy with it. Looks so good, so pretty. I know someone's just gonna love this chair so much. The velvet chairs are just beautiful, especially when you can find them in really nice condition. This one had a few marks and stuff, but I ended up being able to get it all out, so yeah, I really like how it turned out. Okay, so I'm all done the blue chair, just have it over there drying, and now I'm gonna clean the orange chair. I still have to pill it, so I'll just clean it, wait till it dries, and get the little pills off after. Good morning, guys. It's the next day. I'm gonna be sanding here. As you can see, this finish is so old that when I was using the soap and the water, it sort of left little bubbles or sort of like ate through the finish. That tells me it sort of needs to be sanded. It happened a little bit on the legs, but I think I can just do some linseed oil on the legs and it should be fine. But for this, I think I'm gonna take some sandpaper. I have some 120 grit and some 80 grit here, and I'm gonna vacuum this chair anyways because I want to take some of these like little pills off and stuff, so I'll have to do that anyways. So I'm just gonna give these a little bit of a sand and see how easily the finish comes off, and then I might just touch it up with some Danish oil, and hopefully that gives it some new life. So let's get right into that. Alright, so I'm gonna start out with the 120 grit just to see how it reacts. Yeah, so this tells me that this one isn't strong enough, so I'm gonna try the 80 grit. So now I'm gonna take the 120 grit and just go over it to smooth out the bigger scratches from the 80 grit. Okay, I'm just gonna take a damp cloth and I'm just gonna wipe away all the dust. So that's looking pretty good to me in comparison to the other side. So this is the other side, like this, and now this is this side, so it's looking nice and clean, all the same color, and I'm really happy with it. I think if I add some Danish oil, that's gonna look really, really good. So I'm gonna repeat this on the other side and then we can oil them. Okay, so I've sanded down the areas. So it's just like, as you can see, it's nice and smooth. The old finish is all off. These are the items that I'm going to be using. So I have my Danish oil in golden oak, some painter's tape to tape around the area where the fabric is, a sponge, a rag, a cup, and a glove. Alright, so I have it all taped off here. As you can see, I tucked it in all where the fabric would be showing, just like that. Try and protect it as much as I can. I mean, it might seep through the tape a little bit, but at least it's not going to go all over it. So let's get started. Alright, so as you can see, that's turning out really, really nice. I'm just going to show you the difference between the two. So this is the one that I just did. It's super rich. And this is the one that's not done. So as you can see, it's really made a big difference. The wood just looks rich and dark and nice. Looks beautiful, guys. I love it. Just make sure I'm getting all the little cracks. So let's do the other one, and maybe I'll even do the legs. Right, so I'm just gonna rub some linseed oil on the legs to shine them up. It works pretty well. I don't think I'm gonna re-sand the legs because the finish is in really great condition. It's just a little bit dry. sander, and I'm gonna attempt to get off as much of the finish as I can, and then I'll finish the rest with hand sanding if I have to. Okay, so I have done all I can with the orbital sander, so now I'm just going to take a little bit of 80 grit sandpaper and sand where I couldn't reach with the sander, and also just go over everything to make sure it's nice and smooth and even, so that when the stain goes on, everything's all good. I'm probably also going to go over it with a finer grit too, just to make sure it's really, really smooth for when I do the staining. Okay, I'm just going to go over it with some 180 grit sandpaper just to smooth out any harsh lines that the 80 grit sandpaper has created. Okay, now I'm just going to wipe it down with a damp cloth to get all the dust off. I'm just going to use some of the Minwax pre-stain conditioner to fill some of the pores of the wood so that the stain sinks in more evenly. It's really important to condition just so that your stain goes on nicely. I've had it happen before where it's been really splotchy when I haven't conditioned. So this does help a bit, and it's an extra step, but I think it's worth it to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so the pre-stain is applied. I'm just going to give it like 5 minutes to sink in, and then I'm going to go in with my dark walnut stain by Minwax and apply it all over also, while wiping away the excess with a cloth. So I'm just going to take a little bit on a sponge. I'm just wiping away the excess stain. I did half, so now I'm just wiping it away with a cloth just to make sure it doesn't dry in any weird spots. So I'm going to use a little bit of the Watco Danish oil in black walnut. This has varnish in it, so it acts as a little bit of a sealer. So I'm going to apply just like a thin coat all over. That way I don't have to seal this chair with a poly or a spray or anything like that. And because it's not really a high traffic surface like a table, I'm not too worried. It doesn't really need like 3 coats of poly or anything crazy like that. So I'm just going to do that all over just like I applied the stain, wiping away all of the excess with a cloth. And then this will be done. We can wash the chair, put it back together, and get it staged. Alright, so all of the stain is on and the Danish oil. In a couple spots, sometimes it sinks in a little bit weird where it looks like lighter, and that's just the way it sinks into the wood, which is why it's good to use wood conditioner. But as you can see, there's lots of different lines. I believe this is oak. Originally I thought it might have been walnut, but now I think it's oak because just the way the lines are. So as you can see, this arm has like these types of lines, so it's very funky. I think it's cool with the different types of lines. But yeah, that's how it looks so far. So this is gonna dry and set, and in the meantime I'm gonna work on the chair. I just have to vacuum it and wash it and just touch up some spots, but overall it's in great condition, so it shouldn't take that long. Hey, so it's the next day, and I decided that I actually want to make this a little bit darker. I don't like how light the light parts of the wood are, because the couch part, the chair part, is like a beige. So I'm just going to take some of my Kona gel stain by Verthing, and I'm just going to go over it, wipe away the excess, nothing crazy. I just want to darken up the wood just a bit more so it's not as contrasted between the grains of the wood and the light parts. I'm just going to stir it with a little stick before I use it. Okay, so now I'm just going to clean the seat part of the chair. just the same as I always do, and then it will dry in the sun because it's a beautiful day, and tomorrow everything should be pretty much ready to stage. So the chairs are all ready to go. I'm just about to get ready to take some photos of them. So this is how the orange chair turned out. The arms turned out beautifully, all nice. It is still a little bit pilly, but to be honest, like, it's just age and it's still a beautiful chair. It's very unique. I'm just have it set up in my staging area right now, so this is where I take pictures of my chairs. So I just have like a plant, and I'm gonna put a table there, and I have just like carpets set up. This is just my garage. I wait until it's in shade, so there is still sun out, so it creates like a diffused lighting, but the garage itself is in shade, so it gives me a perfect area to take pictures of my chairs. So let's get these pictures taken, and I'll show you the results, and hopefully these chairs sell really, really quickly. Fingers crossed. Alright, it's profit time. So I'm just going to go over all of the profits that I made on these 3 chairs. So for the burnt orange chair with the teak accents, I purchased it for $35. I sold it for $450 because of the teak. It made it really valuable. This chair was also very unique. I tried to find it online, and the only comparable chairs that I could really find were the designer ones, so I priced it a little bit higher. If you see similar chairs like posted, like that's sort of like the lower end of the spectrum for this type of chair, so I felt like that price was very fair. So my profit was actually $415, so not bad at all. So for the blue velvet chair, I got it for $20. I also, like, when I was getting the blue chair, I was getting a bunch of other stuff, so gas wasn't really expensive. I sold it for $185, and my profit was $165. So I really just cleaned that chair and took the skirt off, so not that bad. I had some stubborn discoloration on the velvet, which I think is from the type of soap that I was using. It was having some sort of reaction with velvet, so I switched to a different soap and it started working a lot better, and I just made sure to rinse it and rinse it and rinse it, and eventually that discoloration mostly came out. But yeah, that was really weird, so it took me a little bit longer to clean that chair, but usually it doesn't take that long, so not that bad. Profit of $165. That's still really good. So for the fabric chair that I refinished with the oak wood, I actually got it for $7. It really wasn't expensive. Like, it also needed to be refinished and it was an older chair, but I sold it for $180 and my profit was $173. So sanding is a little bit annoying sometimes, but to be honest, it was worth it. The only reason I didn't price this chair higher is because it had some little almost like rips in the fabric right below the armrests. So if it didn't have that imperfection, the rest of it was in really great condition. It was a solid piece. But yeah, profit of $173, still not bad at all. So yeah, those are my profits for the 3 chairs in today's video. So I hope you found this video helpful, and let's get right back into it. Well, that's another video of Facebook Marketplace chairs that I have flipped. As you can see, there are a lot of different types of vintage chairs you can get, not just the velvet ones. And actually, I find the wood ones pretty cool. Sometimes they need a little bit more work, but I also feel like they're worth a little bit more money because they just have more going on, especially if the wood is like walnut or teak and it's solid wood. You can tell the frame's solid, so it just sort of makes the chair more valuable, at least to me, because not only is it more unique, I feel like it's also just like sturdier, heavier, all that jazz. Whereas the velvet ones, like, there's still a lot of them out there. Like, they are not as rare, I would say. Like, it is sometimes hard to find them to flip, but people do sell them, and the only reason I don't do more is because half of the ones that I do find on Facebook Marketplace are a little bit too far to travel to get to. So I've been looking at all sorts of different chairs, and I've been finding that I really like refinishing wood, and I like how satisfying it is to take an old finish and sort of transform it and give it new life. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching me transform these 3 very different chairs, and seeing how I apply different techniques and strategies to do each one and make them each beautiful. But just it is not always a walk in the park to clean these chairs. Like, sometimes it does take some time because I actually like to really deep clean them and get like some suds going. Like, I don't want to just like lightly go over it, and sometimes there's stains, like old stains on them or old discoloration, and I really like to go over it until I feel like I've gotten out as much as I possibly can. And I know some people show doing these chairs in under an hour from start to finish, and to be honest, sometimes I spend double that just cleaning a chair, depending on its condition, because you're not always going to find a chair that's in perfect condition with no stains. So anyways, keep that in mind. Like, it's okay to spend a little bit more time sort of like washing and cleaning, because like I don't need to finish them all in that short amount of time. Like, I know I'm doing the chairs that day, and I know I'm working on other stuff too sometimes, so I can work on one thing and then come back to it, and it'll all get done eventually. I don't feel the need to just like rush through cleaning something just to have it done right then, because I like to take pictures of things in sort of a batches, so I like to have a lot of things to stage at the same time. That way, when I'm setting up my staging area and getting ready to take pictures, it's just sort of like boom, 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 and I can get them all done instead of doing like one at a time. Because the way I work on projects, I feel like I have multiple things finished at the same time. I'm never just working on one thing, so I'm never just finishing one thing, if that makes sense. But anyways, everyone has their own strategies and their own sort of like way that they like to do things, and I'm sure as I progress along this journey, my ways will also change. But yeah, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. But that's it for today. So bye for now.